We'll take a closer look at this one now with Dr. Laura Petler. She's a forensic criminologist. Thank you for joining us. In terms of what we know, it's not much. We have a lot of questions, but I'm curious about your biggest questions in this case today.
Hi, Sean. Thank you so much for having me. Yes, the victimology is always the core of any investigation, and studying everything we can learn about the victim helps law enforcement understand what her routine activities were. So that's one of the biggest questions that I have. You know, what was normal for her on a daily basis? What was normal for her on a Saturday night, a Sunday morning? We know that she was a churchgoer. And then going from the victimology into the physical evidence, then we take the physical evidence and compare it to the victimology. Looking at the scene in the house, we have blood on the porch. There's other elements of the scene that people have been reporting that can be compared back to the victimology to know what was normal in that house and what was not. So a lot of my questions right now are centered around who is Nancy Guthrie and how did she become a victim of a potential violent crime? The sheriff has confirmed that they believe that she was abducted from her home. And how does that fit in with the physical evidence when we compare it to the victimology?
Yeah, so many are forced to weigh in on this to speculate, because on one hand, the police is asking for the public's help. And the other take of this is, well, we're not getting a lot to go on. We can't tell the public what she was wearing or what to look for. We've got the photograph, obviously, and the details of her height, of her weight, the description of the abducted, but that's as far as we've gotten so far. Yesterday, I interviewed famed crime investigator Nancy Grace. I wanted to play this. This is what Nancy Grace had to say about the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie.
I believe it was a targeted attack. Who knew she would be there? Who knew she would come home from that church event and miss church the next morning? Who knew she would be there? Who knew her routine and practice? Who knew she would be alone? Who knew either the alarm code or that there is no alarm or that it would be activated?
And she raises some good points. What stands out to you there?
So familiarity is a huge piece of this, and control. So again, you know, if it goes on, there's various types of offenders that could be potentially involved, and nobody knows. Nobody knows who could be involved at this point. But when we are looking at the types of offenders that could be involved in what Nancy was describing as being a target attack, she is absolutely spot on when she's talking about the control and the familiarity of the scene. It requires planning, it requires precision, it requires the ability to understand what you're encountering and being comfortable in that location. So I agree that this could very well be a targeted attack.
Finally, I want to wrap with this, and it's a tough question, but a question that does need to be asked. We're entering day 4 in terms of hope that Nancy Guthrie is alive, looking at the chances, the statistics of that, as we pray and as we remain hopeful that she is returned and that she is okay. Looking at this from a criminologist's point of view, what does it say that this isn't day 1? We're in day 4 now, and there is no press briefing set to even happen today.
Yes, Sean, that's obviously very concerning. And the fact that Nancy requires daily medication and maybe has some chronic medical conditions that would be very, very bad for her if she didn't have that medicine, that's the first thing that I'm thinking of. And then in comparison of her medical condition and her inability to do anything for herself at this point, where is law enforcement headed with locating Nancy and bringing her home safely? That's what I'm thinking of right now.
Prayers with the Guthrie family as the investigation continues. At least that's what we know so far. Dr. Laura Petler, thank you so much. Great to see you. I appreciate you weighing in.
Thank you.
You got it.
Thank you.